What's going on, y'all? This is MrLetGo, and I have a special guest with me today. And we're going to talk about how and why women are not the prize. Shout out to Waco, Texas. Shout out to Houston. Shout your city out in the chat, y'all, and say what's up. So this is a conversation that has been going on for the longest, and I'm sick of it, and it's just dumb. So we're gonna talk about a lot of different things that will literally help people, because I don't like all this just random argument stuff online. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense about who the prize is. Is more about like what the destination is, or what the goal is. You know what I mean? So Jacqueline, introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, my name is Jacqueline Shattuck, and thanks for having me on. So I have been a financial advisor for almost 10 years, and in full transparency, the dating journey has looked very interesting. And so I've learned a lot in the past couple of years, and people are always asking me about dating and money, right? So you guys can find me on all social media platforms at Jacqueline Plans. And so you'll see I've been a financial advisor. And one of the things that I learned about being a hyper independent woman is that, the independence movement for women, it brought us the ability to have freedom, right? It brought us choices, but it didn't necessarily bring us love. And so I think that it's important for me to be able to share with my other professional ladies, or just women out here in general who do want to be married one day, some of the things that I learned. Now, I'm not married yet, but I have learned a lot recently, and I think that I can help you guys out.
Okay, so you said it brings women freedom. Freedom from what? What are women trying to get freedom from? Like, is this some Harriet Tubman stuff? Like, what is this? Are you the 2023 Harriet Tubman freeing the slaves?
I mean, let's think about like back before women had choices, right? Before we had options, before we had rights.
Why do y'all need choices and options?
Well, there needs to be some form of equality, right? Like, it's not fair for women not to be able to vote. Like, everybody should be able to. That should be a human right.
Why?
For the same reason that Black people wanted to vote, right? Like, we all want a human right to be able to vote. Our vote.
Just a question, and I'm not going against you, but just a question. What if, just as an example, right? Mm-hmm. What if, and I think this is true. What if the reason why Biden is in office is because of women? Do you think that would be an issue if women keep voting for stupid people, and it's more women voting than men because women are just more into stuff, but they screw everything up when they do vote? Just as an example. I'm just using this as an example. What if somebody having freedom to do something, somebody having the right to do something, is actually making things worse? Just a thought. Whether it's Black people, whether it's women, what if there was a minority that was making things worse due to the fact that they have the right to do something or the freedom to do something? Now what? They have all these rights and these freedoms, but things are worse. Now what?
I think that there's a balance with everything, right? So we've got to figure out what that balance is that makes sure we understand. Like, if we give somebody the full power, right? Like when men had the full power to say, like, mm-hmm. Okay, we're in charge of everything. Did things go right? Like, there was a lot of abuse, right? Women were being overly abused.
Well, what's the difference between women being over abused before y'all had freedoms and rights? Because we're talking, okay, we're not talking about the 60s and 50s, because I understand the voting thing. I'm just looking at it as a freedom, because you said women have more freedom, right? And in my opinion, this women empowerment mess and I am the prize crap, it's made women worse. So it's like, whether it's true or not, it seems like the more freedom women have, the more the train just goes off the tracks and the more screwed up y'all have gotten. And everybody make sure to hit the like button. Everybody make sure to hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button. Terica said the likes are down. So what if, because in my opinion, I'm going to ask you too, women are so much worse now than they've ever been. They're more hoish. They're more loud. They're more masculine. They're more problematic. They don't want to listen to nobody. They are the worst people on the planet now, but they weren't the worst people on the planet back in the 80s. JJ Fad, just back in the day, like women just had fun. Women were just happy. Women were skinny and they were smaller. They wore their natural hair, and they were just more fun-loving people. But now they're just these angry, cantankerous, like problematic people. And I think it comes from the fact that this women empowerment myth has made the woman feel like, I don't need a man. Ha ha ha. So the freedoms, and I'm not pushing a narrative, but what do you think about that? The freedoms that women have is now making the world worse. Is it true or what? Just your thoughts.
I don't think that it's making the world worse. I think that everything needs to find its balance. I think that there's a lot of people who understand that they have this freedom now, and so they've taken it all the way to like 100,000. And a lot of times that comes from trauma, right? Like women who haven't dealt with some of their trauma. Growing up without a dad is traumatic, right? We are supposed to have two parents. You're supposed to get a balance of your mom and your dad. So that is a trauma. And a lot of us haven't dealt with that trauma. That's why we say, oh, there's daddy issues. You have daddy issues, right?
Do you think, are you understanding that it's not daddy issues, it's mommy issues?
It's both.
Okay.
Both. And transparently, I have dealt with both. Having a neglect and not knowing who my dad is, right? I've had to go through a lot of therapy for this, right? And a lot of people don't deal with that. And that's the problem. The root, the core, the issue is you. It's not necessarily how everything is structured, right? Like we can say that Twitter and all social media is the devil, but you also can use that to your benefit. You can use that to learn. You can use that to progress, grow, make more money. It's about how you use it. So a lot of us are choosing to be toxic. We're choosing to scream, I don't need no man for nothing. I'm super independent, and then wonder why you're not married and you end up being a baby mama with 2 kids and 2 dads.
But you're choosing to be toxic because you have the freedom to be toxic. No? Because if you don't have, because you got to think about the word you said. You said women have more freedom. They're free to be toxic because it's so many other women who are toxic and these little assholes with titties. And it's just like, y'all are just running around like gremlins or whatever. You know, just remember, did you ever seen the movie Gremlins? Women are just running around, tearing up the city, just jumping up down on cars, like You don't think that's what women are doing to the world because there are so toxic femininity?
I think people get hurt. People get hurt, and I think when women get hurt, we are a different kind of animal. Yes, and so I think that everything really results back to your core, right? And I think a lot of times people are not in alignment. You're not in alignment with what you're saying you want and what you're doing. And so you're running around thinking that you're the prize, acting like a gremlin. I'm not going to say there's women that don't act like that. You're acting like a gremlin, saying that you're the prize and you want to be married, but what you're doing isn't in alignment with what you're saying that you want. Make it make sense.
Okay. I have an ideology that I've spoken before, so you probably heard it before. Women are children, right? And I accept that and I embrace it and I love that. You know, I just recently did a video about how beautiful it is when women can embrace their inner child and just be that like clueless, innocent little girl without ever getting hurt. You ever seen in any kind of cartoon or any movie where a little girl is just walking down the street and cars is just missing the little girl and she's just walking around and nothing's happening to her? Have you ever seen that? I think it was in Popeye or something. I think I forgot who it was, but I don't remember what cartoon, but it'd be a little girl and I think it was Tom and Jerry something. I don't remember what it was, but she could just do what she wants to do. And all the characters in the movie are running around just hurting themselves to make sure the little girl doesn't get hurt, right? And I think that is the essence of a woman when you could just be your inner self and allow the inner child in you to be healed. Because I think that's the reason why so many women are gremlins, is because their inner child is suppressed, and the grown woman is like this monster. And I talked about the monster also. And we're dealing with so many monsters instead of innocent little girls that can just be happy. And you know what I'm saying? So the reason why I bring that up is I think women have always been traumatized. Like in the 50s and the 40s and the 30s, they've always been M'd, they always been R'd, and they always been A'd. MRA, all, that's a weird way of saying it, but all three that has always been going on till the end of time, you know. And A is of course abused, you know what I'm saying? So women have always been dealing with all these different things, but the freedoms that you're saying is, in my opinion, has put them to the point where they could just run around like gremlins tearing up stuff, because they're now they can seem to operate like men, you know. And I'm not saying that women shouldn't make money, but I think it's a mindset and an ideology that's mixed in with this. Ooh, I make money. Because one thing I can say about 2023 that is beautiful, women ain't running around saying I'm independent, I don't need no man. Because 2023 is bad. It is bad. Black women, and I'm not saying this as a dig, but Black women are the most evicted group in the entire country. And that's not a good thing. But I think it comes from what happened in 2021 and 2022 with all this women empowerment stuff. You don't need a man. So it's millions and millions and millions of women out there who live by themselves and they're single mothers, and life is getting hard, and inflation done hit them at the end of 2022. And now they're like, rent is like $3,000 a month. I can't afford this. And they still can't say I need a man, because they're programmed to not need a man. So they still don't go out and get a man. And when I say get a man, I mean, you know, feminine, you know, just be a little bit more feminine, be a little bit more receiving, and allow a man to come in and just want to, you know, sweep them off their feet. That sweeping off the feet that was in the 80s is you know, the princess stuff is not there anymore. So these women are refusing to acquiesce to a man. And now they're staying single for another year, and now they're homeless.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll be clear. I know the stats, right? The financial stats. So women,
okay, cool, that's good. Okay,
most indebted in terms of student loan debt.
Hold on, say it again.
We carry the most student loan debt. Women do.
Uh-huh.
Black women do. Mm-hmm. And we are the most educated, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got a disconnect there. And before we dive into this, I want to be very clear, especially for my women that are listening. I'm not saying that men don't do this and men aren't childish. We're just specifically talking about women, so we're going to focus there. But women are the most indebted, Black women specifically, the most indebted, but we're also the most educated. Okay, so when we talk about getting married and finding a partner, it's hard for us because we carry the most debt. So we're asking a man to come in and take care of all these things for us. And we're also saying that we are the most educated. So if Black men are the least educated, we're at a total disconnect, because we all are very involved in hypergamous dating, right? And so hypergamous dating means that we like to date men who are above us, whether that's age, status, height, whatever it is. And so for women, we're like, okay, if you can't come in and meet all of these things, all of these tiers, then you're not good enough. And so I think what happens is, because women aren't finding that as easily as possible, as easy as we're finding other men who are, you know, not ready to lead, not ready to get married, right? Then we end up turning into gremlins in a certain sense, okay? Now, women do own more homes. So talking about eviction, women own, the stats are women own 10 million homes to men who own 8 million homes. Okay, so women have 20% more home ownership in terms of single people. So when we're talking about finding people who are on an even keel, if you're talking about people who look like us, that definitely throws things off from jump. Okay, so let's not deny from that fact that women are not receiving. We haven't learned how to receive.
Right.
We live in households without fathers, with single moms who are running everything. If you asked me at 18 years old what I wanted, I would have told you 6 children, and I would have never mentioned a husband. I was in a relationship at that time, and I told him, I said, I don't even really see myself getting married. I don't see the whole big wedding and thing. But for some reason, I see me driving around in the Yukon Denali with 6 children. Make it make sense.
Right.
Because I was raised with single moms. My mom and her sister both had 4 or 5 kids and no husbands.
Right. And that is the biggest problem. And one thing I always learned from Ayala Vincent, she said we have to disrupt the pattern. And I love when, and just for the record, Black women retired her because, you know why? I don't know if you know why. She retired because every year her show will come on and Black women would send her death threats. And they got worse and worse and worse. And her sons was like, Ma, it's time to hang it up because I'm getting afraid for you because the death threats are getting worse. Black women literally was sending her death threats. And she said this out of her own mouth. So it's not a rumor. She said it. She just literally got tired of women threatening to delete her. And she's like, in my old age, like if they don't want help, I'm finna just go live my life. I tried, you know what I mean? So I just want y'all to think about how egregious that is. We, not just her, we are trying to disrupt the pattern, try to end single motherhood, because she would bring the grandmother in, the mother in, and the daughter in, which is very important because I was talking to somebody the other day, how she said her great-grandmother abused her grandmother, and her grandmother abused her mother. And that's the reason why her own mother is so messed up. Because not only did her mother abuse her, but her mother's mothers abused her. And a lot of times you seen what your grandmother did to your mother. So you looking at, but your grandmother treats you, the granddaughter, like a princess. So you're confused because you're watching your grandmother, you know, as a young person, treat your mother bad, but she treats you nice, right? So it's like sometimes you can see what the lineage actually looks like. And just like you said, multiple women in your family were single mothers. So it's not just your mother, it's your whole, or a lot of times your lineage being problematic, being angry, being spiteful. And it comes from trauma, right? But we men and women are not the same. And we're going to talk about the prize also. Men and women are not the same, but we've been traumatized also. But it's been a different type of trauma. And I understand that. Women go through worse trauma than men. But the bottom line is, and this is the reason why we're here, the reason why women are traumatized, in my opinion, is not because of men, it's because of women. And if we stop or end this family full of women, was your family 90% women?
Mm-hmm.
See, virtually every Black family is 90% women, right? So if we can stop this 90% women ratio in Black families, we'll literally end everything. It will be no more gang violence. It will be no more drug use. It will be no more drug dealing. It will be no more crimes, people breaking in cars or whatever, because men teach young boys how to go make money, right? The reason why, just like you said, men are the black men are the brokers to a certain degree. We make the same amount of money. Black women and Black men, we all make somewhere around $50,000 a year, right? But women are actually trying to educate themselves, but men aren't, right? Because and this was in a Willie Lynch letter, the Black woman's job is to masculate the Black woman and emasculate the Black man. So the Black man leaves the Black woman feeling the need to just make it work, live with some woman, just, tread water, financially. But the Black woman teaches the Black daughter to get out there, go do this and go do that, take over the world, right? And this comes from the Willie Lynch letter teachings that are still going on now. So the thing about it is, men are trash to a certain degree and women are trash to a certain degree, but the teacher of these trash people are the same person, which is the Black woman. We need more Black So with all that being said, we need more black men in these households, right? And I don't want to get on my bad bitch box, but if anybody was the prize, it would be the man. Because if more men were actually in the households, the world would be totally different. Black people would be totally different if more black men were in the households, right? They would influence their daughters better and they would influence their sons better, right? And then at the same time, from a husband's standpoint, a woman would no longer have to be this masculine, angry, like gremlin running around trying to take over the world, like Pinky and the Brain. I don't know if you know Pinky and the Brain were both females. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I remember the show though.
But they wouldn't be running around like these little Pinky and the Brains and these little gremlins trying to take over stuff, because they would be like, yo, I enjoy my life of just being a wife. Like because it's a lack of safety that causes these women to be so cantankerous. Women just want to be safe and feel heard. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
But nobody hears black women. So they're like, you got to listen to me. You got to see me. You got to hear me. Let me shake my ass, or let me yell, or let me do this, or let me show you how I don't need you because I want you to see me. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to that, if you just look at it like the prize is the man. And if the man is not there, the women aren't the prize, you know? So it's like, because the biggest answer is the prize is a family. The prize is what you're building. You know what I'm saying? But if you were to sit down and say, okay, is a woman the prize, man the prize? I would say the man is the prize, because I'm looking at the prize being the father, not the boyfriend and not the husband. So it's not really the bad bitch type of thing. Like, we men y'all need to chase after us. The influence of the man is so much bigger than the influence of the woman. So I want you to think about this, Jacqueline. If I met a woman and she says I'm a daddy's girl, that puts me in a mindset of, oh, damn, okay, I can't manipulate her. She's going to be on top of things. I got to live up to her dad's standards. Like, if I do this wrong, she's out of there because she has a certain amount of safety from a man already. She has a certain amount of guidance from a man already, right? So if I start, because I don't even have to manipulate her. If I ain't doing what I'm supposed to do, she's out of here because she's a daddy's girl, right? But if you met a man and you said, and he said he was a mama's boy, want to be with him? No,
and you're freezing up. But no, I'm not gonna want to be with him because he's gonna want to be baby.
So the influence of a woman is negative in every way. The influence of a man is positive in most ways. So that means, me in particular, and probably anybody else, I think you two, or just anybody, and put it in the chat. I want y'all to answer this also. If you had a choice, if you go back to the age of 5 years old and you had a choice to be raised by your dad or your mother, only one person, put dad or mom in the chat. I'm gonna say it again. If you can go back to the age of 5 years old and you had the option to be raised by your dad only or your mom only, put dad or mom. Which one would you choose? So Jacqueline, which one would you choose?
Okay, let's unpack because you said a lot. Okay. So one of the things that you said earlier is that women have more trauma than men.
Mm-hmm.
You said that. So yes. As women, I'm very solution based. As women, I would agree with that. So ladies or men who have somebody that they love, we have more trauma that we need to work through. So I need you guys to have more patience and to be more guiding and helping her deal with that trauma. Okay. But also women, I don't believe.
What do you need us to do as men?
If you're leading, pay for her therapy. Offer to pay for her therapy. Okay. Like, I want you to make sure you're talking to somebody, right? Mm-hmm. Offer to pay for her therapy. Make sure that she's communicating, having healthy relationships with other women, her mom, her aunt, her sister, her friends. Make sure that she's getting that girl time, right? I think that that's a good way that you can help her deal with that trauma. And of course, don't add to it. Don't make it worse. Okay. So
we just be ourselves. I agree with you on that, but you got to understand, I'm myself. Now, I being myself is going to trigger you, because my level of masculinity, most women have never seen. And I'm not saying I'm crazy or whatever, but I'm above average when it comes to a masculine male, right? You already know I'll be like, women or children and sit your ass down. You know what I'm saying? The typical man, because a lot of men are feminized or either lazy or losers or either broke, or the type of men who whine about the white man holding them down. I'm not any of those guys, right? I've been working since I was 13, right? I had a job. I made my own job when I was 11. You know what I'm saying? So the thing about it is, I'm a man's man. Well, that sounds gay, but you know what I'm saying? But the thing about it is, you can't say that in 2023. It's no balls. But the thing about it is, my presence will trigger you. So we got to add context to don't make it worse, because we don't hurt you. We trigger what's already there. And it's not fair to us when we just come in the room and we just got our chest out, just being a man, and all of a sudden like, you hate women, and we just like, what?
Right. So let me finish.
We just trigger you and we don't hurt you, but go ahead.
Yeah, you gotta, as a woman, that's what I'm saying. Y'all don't make it worse, but as a woman, don't come to the table expecting somebody else to fix your pain.
Right.
Come to the table acknowledging what you've been through, right? So for me, an example, I had abandonment issues. And so if I'm in a relationship, I'm dating a guy, and he does something that makes me feel abandoned, I immediately, we're gonna nip that in the butt. Hey, that makes me feel abandoned. I don't feel good when you do that. Right? Just
wait, you actually say it? You say it?
Absolutely.
You say it really?
I say that because it's damage.
Y'all just leave.
Huh?
Y'all just leave or shut down.
I used to, but I don't anymore. Now I just speak up. I learned that feminine energy is to voice her feelings, right? Yes. So if you're not voicing how you feel, you're going to sabotage your own relationship as a woman. So you have
let me say this. Masculine is actually shutting down. Feminine is actually speaking up. See, a woman, going back to the women or children, right? A child is always going to say what they want, right? The parent is always going to put themselves on a back burner for the child. So the woman being the child, they cry, they fall on the floor. The child itself, they cry to get food, they cry to get their diaper changed. So the femininity, the ultimate feminine woman is going to speak up. And it's not the loudness, it's the speaking up. A baby the baby is born crying. So the baby is born speaking up, right? So the thing about it is, as the woman, which is the proverbial child, your job is to communicate. Your job is to speak up. Y'all women are the ones who love to talk, right? Talk. So because the thing about it is, you'll talk with your girlfriend about random crazy shit. But the second you get with a man, when you feel triggered or hurt, or you feel like your abandonment issues are coming up, you start acting like a dude and you shut down. We don't want all the ones that shut down. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, no, that was me for a long time until I realized, oh, this is killing my relationships. By not telling you how I feel in the moment, it's killing my relationships. Yes. And it could not only be killing the relationship in the particular moment when you shut down and cut off all communication, but that carries on like that. Right. And that eats into the relationship. So maybe the relationship didn't end because of that, but that's one of the things when you're evaluating the relationships, like, she don't really communicate how she feels. Because she feels like she's supposed to be masculine and just take everything on her shoulders. And that's not the case. So you're supposed to not come to a relationship or to a man. I agree. He's not supposed to fix you. Nobody is supposed to fix anybody, right? That's why you're supposed to be single and live in your wholeness and build up your wholeness until you're ready to be with somebody, right?
And let me say this. And if you don't build up your wholeness, you're going to build up your wholeness. Keep that in mind. That is... I think that's in the Bible somewhere.
But you will, though, because you're going to be confused, right? Yeah. Distractions look like opportunities when you don't know where you're going. So if you don't know that you want a man that does X, Y, and Z because your mind is so clouded because you just dated this guy and he did this, and you dated this other guy and he did that, then you're so confused. Your mind is so clouded that you end up dating this guy who's not what he's supposed to be for you, because those distractions look like opportunities for you. You're like, oh, well, let me jump on this, not realizing he has very feminine traits, that he's not capable of leading, right? You're doing all of that because you haven't done your own work in your wholeness, right? And that's when you're running around acting like a gremlin, acting like a video girl when you're not, right? So let's kind of jump back.
Sorry. So wait, you said something profound. Can you repeat that? You said his distractions start looking like what?
I said that distractions look like opportunities when you don't know where you're going.
That's a bar, y'all. Distractions look like opportunities. Do you know why these distractions are looking like opportunities? Because it gives you yet another opportunity to get away or run or cope with your trauma. See, distractions. The reason why women love the bad boy, the women love the toxic dude, because he's more distracting than the good guy, right? Women look for distractions as opportunities when they're traumatized, because it's distracting them from their trauma. Women love to find different ways to cope with their trauma. I always say it's like a horror movie. You're running, like you're running from Jason, right? And sometimes you get away from Jason, and then you're like, all right, good. But all of a sudden, Jason comes around the corner and you get back to running, right? That is your trauma. In these horror movies, ladies, you probably don't understand or notice, but Jason is actually your trauma. Freddy Krueger was your actual trauma. The Ring was trauma. If you think about The Ring, who traumatized her? Her mother. Who traumatized Jason? His mother. Who traumatized Freddy Krueger? His mother. All of these movies is about a woman's or male's childhood trauma. So the reason why y'all like getting distracted by toxic dudes is because Jason is chasing you, and you don't want Jason to catch up. In Poltergeist, they actually was traumatized by this haunted house, but when they left the haunted house in part 2, it followed them. This is the life of a black woman, the life of a woman, period. Your trauma keeps chasing you. So you get with this man and he's distracting you and you feel good until he becomes the actual trauma.
So,
right?
So throw this in there. Life will keep teaching you the same lesson until you learn it.
Ooh.
So you will keep choosing the wrong man until you have learned the lesson, right? I will keep shutting down in a relationship until I've learned that shutting down is not getting me the result that I want.
Facts. Jacqueline, you keep going. You dropping bars.
That's all I'm saying. Where you're saying that, you know, it's the mom that has traumatized, and it is a lot of times. So let's go back to what you guys were saying about. I saw a lot of people drop dad in the chat. So can y'all hit the like button if you drop dad in the chat for us, because we can circle back to this prize conversation.
Okay, so let me ask the question over again so y'all can put it in the chat. If you can go back to the age of 5 and you had the choice of either or, you had your dad raising you or your mom raising you. So put mom or dad in the chat. All right, go ahead, Jacqueline.
And yeah, I wish I knew my daddy. I'm gonna find him though. Okay.
I know that's right.
So the prize. Let's talk about being the prize. Okay, so I was out and about one night, and I ended up coming across this group of like, they're probably like early 40s, men in their late 30s, early 40s. They having a guys' night out, right? And I end up chit-chatting with them, and one of the guys talks about, he like mentions he's married and is kind of talking about his married life or whatever. And I was like, okay, you know, at the end of the conversation, I said, all right, well, remind your wife that she's the prize.
Okay.
And this man was like, he was like, what? My wife is not the prize at all. Love her to death. He was like, would never cheat on her. That's my girl. But he was like, she's not the prize. Right. And I was like, elaborate on this, because I'm trying to learn, y'all. I'm trying to let go of my own ego. Okay. That kills a lot of us, right? And it's part of why a lot of us can act as gremlins. But I'm like, okay, explain this to me, because I'm trying to understand why your wife's not the prize. She birthed your 3 children. You showed me pictures. She's beautiful. Like, explain it to me. And he was like, I'm the prize. I'm the one that owns 40 franchises of whatever business. I'm the one that makes all the money. He was like, I'm the one that either cooks or has the chef cook. He was like, I'm the one that coordinates most of the stuff that needs to be done for the house. He was like, I'm the prize. She just shows up and takes care of the kids. And he was like, doesn't really do a whole lot because I provide a nanny for her. So he was like, love her to death. She's beautiful. She's a great mom, but I'm the prize.
Right.
And I kind of had to sit back for a minute. And remember, y'all, I'm a financial advisor. So I had to sit back for a minute and I was like, maybe he's right. Like, I had to think about me. I was like, maybe some of us do need to be a little bit humbled. And
sit down somewhere.
If you know me or follow me, then you know that I'm not really about humbling women, because I think that the society here in America already humbles us to a certain extent, always telling us we're not pretty enough, we're not smart enough, blowing our confidence, right? And so I'm really for women building their own confidence. I don't necessarily mean that it has to be women's empowerment to a certain extent. We can dive into that a little later, but I do think that women need to have confidence, right? Because if you don't have confidence, then you're not going to love yourself. If you don't love yourself, then you don't know yourself. You don't know yourself, you don't trust yourself. And if you don't trust yourself, you start acting like a gremlin, and you can't be who you're supposed to be in a relationship, and you can't sit in your feminine energy and be soft, be loving, and be receiving. So that to me was like, maybe I'm not the prize. But I think that it's twofold, because then I talked to one of my guy friends about it, and that's almost like, oh yeah, I started dating this guy. He's great, checks literally every box on the list, but I'm not super attracted to him. Like, he's not super attractive. And he was like, yeah, because visually in a relationship, the man's not supposed to be the prize. So as women, you're sitting around and you're all dating the same man. Why are you all dating the same man? Because you all want a man who's over 6 foot. You want a man who's over 6 foot. That's 15% of the population. He said, you want a man who makes over 6 figures, cut that in half, right? You want him to be attractive, cut that in half. So you guys are all dating this top 3% of the population and wondering why you're not getting wifed up, wondering why you're dealing with trauma, wondering why he's not calling you back, right? Because you want a man who's visually the prize, right? And a lot of times those end up being the very feminine men. And so then you're mad that it's not working out.
I agree.
You're looking like opportunities.
So let's do a little housekeeping real quick. We need at least about 100 more likes. We need 100 more likes. So if you have not hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button. I know y'all went through some trauma, but I need y'all to hit the like button, because y'all are causing me trauma by not hitting the like button. So hit the damn like button. That's the first thing. Second thing is Cash App is open. Aaron 1000. Drop a Cash App, and I'll read your Cash App if you want to add or drop a message. I'm about to read the super chats. So if you got something to say, put it in the super chat, and make sure, like I said, hit the like button. And one other thing, if any of you on here are looking to grow your YouTube channel, join my coaching group. I've had a coaching group for a while, and I've been helping people grow on YouTube, grow on Facebook, grow on Instagram, grow on TikTok. And I keep you in the loop on what new things are going on. Like, there's something new on YouTube that I'm not going to tell you because you're not my student, that my students actually know that is going on YouTube, that actually makes them more, or can potentially make them more money. So if you want to grow on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or anything else, make sure to click the link that is in the pinned at the top of the chat, or is pinned in the comment section, and join my coaching group. And don't be whining about it being expensive. That's life. Go somewhere else if you don't want to learn nothing. Because my thing is, y'all asses will go to college and don't learn shit, but you don't want to join a coaching group and learn something. Don't make no damn sense. Second, a white man give you something, you're going to be $60,000 in debt, but you don't want to pay no damn $400. You bastard ass people. Go ahead.
I learned something in college, y'all. I learned something with my degrees, but I didn't know you had a coaching program. That's dope.
I have 2 coaching groups. Yeah.
I'm gonna sign up.
I coach women, and then I coach people on how to grow on social media.
Say less. Okay, so really quickly, while we're on that coaching subject, y'all, if you don't invest with your dollars, you're not going to grow. I promise you're not going to grow, because it holds you accountable. It holds you, when you were a child and you went to college, you took out student loans, it kind of held you accountable, right? Like you kind of finished, you kind of went to class, but as an adult, it holds you accountable. Like spending that dollar, like investing that money, y'all have to do it to grow, and you need a mentor. So I will say that.
Yep. So my biggest issue with, let's get into women empowerment, because that's how we first got when we was on the phone. What is your thoughts on women empowerment and all this? And it started, I think, I actually started really seeing it in 2019, 20. Just all these women just run around, I make all this money, and it's just all this empty, just yelling and stuff. What do you, in my opinion, that's my way of looking at it. But what do you see when you see all this women empowerment stuff?
Hey, y'all make sure y'all send y'all questions on the Cash App so we can read the questions, okay?
Yeah, Cash App or Super Chat. If y'all want to ask some questions, we're not answering any questions unless you put it in the Super Chat or send it through Cash App.
Yeah,
Cash App is Aaron 1000. Go ahead.
Do y'all? I'm having a great time. Okay, so your question is women's empowerment. All right, so I think that with women's empowerment, I'll share a little bit of my backstory on why I think that maybe it's not women's empowerment should be the title, but maybe y'all can help us come up with a new name. Because for me, I grew up neglectful mom, no dad. Okay. So we know what happens with daddy issues, right? Like women are seeking validation from men. Okay. We got that. What happens when you have mommy issues though? When you have mommy issues, you don't know how to build self-confidence. That's the biggest thing. If you have mommy issues, you struggle with confidence in yourself. And so I struggled with my own confidence and I still do.
Right.
And so my biggest thing with women's empowerment is really teaching other women how to build up your own self-confidence, right? And by doing that, I mean trusting yourself, okay? Because there's a difference between believing in yourself and trusting yourself, all right? Believing in yourself is the thought of like, oh, cool, I can join Aaron's coaching program and I can make a lot of money. Great. That means you believe in yourself. That's step number one. Step number two is actually trusting yourself to do so. By trusting means that you send that Cash App, you send that Stripe, you send that payment, because it's the action that you're taking, right? And then you say, okay, I will follow these steps. That's trusting yourself. Now, if you don't believe in yourself and you don't trust yourself, more highly don't trust yourself, as a woman, if you do not trust yourself to do what you're supposed to do, then that means that you don't love yourself. And if you don't love yourself, then you're no good to yourself. You're no good to anybody else. You're no good to your children. You're no good to your family. And then we end up with this trauma of everybody in the chat saying, I would rather be raised by my dad. Why? Because your mom didn't trust herself. She didn't know herself. She didn't believe in herself. And by doing that, she couldn't exert patience with you. She couldn't exert teaching you how to manage stress because she didn't know how to. And so the idea is that we don't perpetuate that same thing. And so by women's empowerment, I'm not saying that you have you should feel empowered to tell men that you don't need them and that they ain't shit and that like that's not what I'm saying by women's empowerment. By women's empowerment, I want you to know, believe, and trust yourself so that you can do what's right for your family. Because the thing is, we have a lot of earning potential, right? I would argue we have more earning potential than men. But a lot of times we're running around, we're not focused, right? And I will say this, Aaron, you tell me, I feel like no man wants to wife a woman who's running around like a gremlin, who's not focused, who's not controlled, who doesn't trust herself, who doesn't believe in herself. That's my understanding. What's your take on that?
So, this is the problem I have with women empowerment, right? And this is just me and what I do and what I teach, right? So it doesn't go against what you said, but virtually everything you said, there's no context to it, right? Learn how to trust yourself, learn how to love yourself. All these are empty words because there's no context. So I, in particular, help women get context into these things, right? You can't just love yourself. You can't just trust yourself.
Okay, let's add
context. You talked about this earlier. So you talked about this earlier. So you actually said this yourself. So I have something that I tell women is important for you to fall back in love with your parents. So this is a psychological, biological thing. If you don't fall back in love with your parents, you're going to die 10 years earlier. And what happens is there's something called mother wounds, right? And these mother wounds get worse and worse and worse throughout your life, because as a woman, you're never going to stop missing your mother, right? When you're a little girl, you miss your mom or miss that love or feel like your mother owes you something, right? There's so many women out here who thinks like their mother, all you want your mother to do is this. All you want your mother is to be proud of you. All you want your mother is to do one or two things. But sometimes you can go to your mom like, Mom, and she still won't do it. You want your mom to apologize to you. It's something that you want your mother to do, and she just won't do it, right? So you go through your whole life wanting her to do something, whether to apologize to you, say, I'm proud of you, say, I love you, give you a hug or something, right? The older you get, the more angry and resentful you get towards yourself, not your mother. The reason why you grow older and getting more resentful towards yourself, because now you're starting to become your mother to other people, and you start dropping little crumbs of your trauma and your mother and your issues, and you start seeing your relationships fall apart. And you like, I know it's because I have these mother wounds, but you don't know what they are. It's just a feeling. I'm hurt, but you don't know what's hurting you, right? So it's sacrilegious to blame your mother. So you start blaming your baby daddy. You start blaming men. You start blaming patriarchy. You start blaming other things, but deep down is your mother wounds, because women came out of their mother and they look like their mother. There are women like their mother. So we have issues, but we were born not being our mother. We were born being our father, right? So a lot of us have father wounds, right? Because we have penises, we look like a man. So we don't look like our mother. So you are growing up looking somewhat like your mother, but your mother doesn't like you or love you or seem to care about you, right? So you're like, if this woman that I look like doesn't love me, care about me, how would somebody else love or care about me? But the thing about it is, going back to falling back in love with your mother, the way to do that, because I love adding context, is you have to understand why your mother is so unloving, why your mother is so ignoring, why your mother is so dismissive, why your mother is this type of person. It's because of her mother. So when you get to the point where you start saying like, damn, the reason why my mother is like this is because her mother did the same thing to her than she did to me. So she isn't doing this to me because she hates me. She's doing this to me because she was taught to do this by my grandmother or my great grandmother. If you go back to your lineage, you'll find out your great grandmother got abused, and because you talked about how women today have trauma. No, your great grandmother is the one who has trauma. She was treated like crap, and not only by her husband, boyfriend, and men, by white people. So y'all, it's okay, but y'all love to say in today's woman deals with trauma. No, your great grandmother and your great great grandmother dealt with a lot of trauma because they were actually slaves. So they were treated like crap by every single human being on the face of the earth. You know what I'm saying? Not by just a man, every man. The black man, the white man, because when a white man treats a black man like crap, the black man comes home and treats a woman like crap. And then a woman treats the daughter like crap. It's a psychological thing that actually happens. You know what I'm saying? So once you get to the understanding of the lineage, you now can understand like, damn, my mom is treating me like crap because somebody treated her like crap. And it's a trickle down effect. It's called attrition in a way. So once you see this, you're able to fall back in love with your mother because you're like, damn.
You love her flaws.
I love her flaws. And then you look at your daughter. I mean, you look at your mom like your daughter in a way. And you're like, you look at the hurt little girl in your mom instead of looking at this angry, mad, grown woman. You look at this hurt little girl and you take your mom, because when you're older, your mom is like needing you, right? And you like, come here, little girl, and you start treating your daughter like a child, and you hug her instead of wanting her to hug you, and you don't look at her like she owes you something. You like, come here, little girl. And now you're able to fall back in love with your mother. And because you do this, now you can break the cycle, like Ayanna says, and start treating your daughter in a different way, because now you have two daughters. You have a daughter, and then you have a mom that you treat like your daughter. That's how you love yourself, because it's a forgiveness. You know what I'm saying? The way a woman love herself is by forgiving herself, by forgiving her mother. Because the reason why I say forgive yourself and why a woman has to love herself, the specific thing is you can't blame your mother. It's just against your psychological, because you think you owe your mother something.
Truth is, you can't blame anybody. You have to take accountability.
But somebody did something to you. But the thing of what I'm saying is, you think you're not worthy of love, therefore your mother didn't love you. And that is the reason why you had to forgive yourself, because you are worthy of love. Because you can't say my mom did this to me, therefore no, because you feel like, how dare you say this about your mother? It's just a how dare you thing, right? It's like your mother is Jesus. So since you can't blame your mother, hold your mother accountable, you blame yourself. So once you let go of the blame and forgive yourself for actually not blaming your mother, because it's not about blame, but you got to put accountability on where it actually is. You didn't do anything. Your mother did it. But then, so it's steps. First, you got to release the accountability of yourself. I did not do this to me. My future ramifications, I got to work on that. But I did not do this to me. I was a little girl. I didn't do it. Then you say, my mom did it, right? And then you pull the accountability away from your mom. Her mom did it. You get what I'm saying? So you're slowly relieving everybody from their trauma. Your mother did it to you, but her mother did it to her. And now everybody slowly gets grace. But go ahead, Jacqueline.
Okay, so I say this in unpacking what you're saying. First of all, understanding that fault and responsibility are not the same thing, right? So make that delineation, all right? So fault, it's not your fault that something happened to you. It's not your fault that your mother and everybody was traumatized. Not your fault. But it's now your responsibility to fix it, right? And so if you are serious about growth and you're serious about marriage and relationships working, and even if they're friendships, whatever it is, if you're serious about growth, you have to be serious about accountability. Right? So how do you find that accountability? That's really key. Okay. And that's a question you got to answer on your own. But I will say this, in terms of figuring out exactly, no, I don't know if that makes sense. In terms of, I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
No, I'm listening.
I was just saying, figuring out what it is that's going to hold you accountable to fix that, to understand that it's not your fault. Because with me, I had this is what I was going to say. So I had a situation with the therapist, right? Where I was coming to the therapist very, very angry, because when I was 18, 19, my mom had another child. She had a daughter. So I have a sister. Now my sister is 11 years old. So now do the math there. And my sister has the same confidence issues that I had. Yeah. And I see it in her. And when I saw that a couple summers ago, when I kept her for the summer, I got so angry with my mom. And I was like, how dare you do the same thing to her that you did to me?
Yeah.
And I had to go to therapy for this, y'all. And this is what the therapist told me, and this could maybe help you. So I go see this therapist, right? And I'm telling her, like, I'm so angry and I don't know what to do, because my mother has no accountability, right? Love you, Mom. I know you're watching this. She watches all my stuff, but we got a lot of issues. So she, I tell the therapist, hey, I'm having these issues. And she's like, this is what you need to do. And she was like, this is going to hurt a lot. And y'all don't clip this up and make it sound crazy. But she was like, your mom needs to die. Not in a physical sense. She was like, but your thought process and your understanding of what a mom is supposed to look like, and that your
Your
mom
interpretation of a mother. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
needs to die.
Yes.
She was like, because you're almost 30 years old and your mom has never been what you want your mom to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not going to work for you. And
it goes back to feeling like your mother owes you something that she is not capable of giving you.
Not capable of giving you, right? If you're almost 30 or you're plus 30, like, just understand that's probably not something they're capable of giving you, right? I talk about that with money a lot. I say, you're mad at your parents because they didn't teach you about credit. They didn't teach you how to invest. Look at their bank accounts. Look at their investment accounts. They probably don't have any.
Right.
Probably don't have a lot of money. So you're mad at them for not teaching you, right? And is it their fault they didn't teach you? Kinda. It doesn't really matter because now it's your responsibility. Step up and handle it, right? That can be the very masculine side of things for women, but you do have to learn how to stand in your wholeness, and standing in your wholeness is understanding how your money works, right? And so you have to learn, like, okay, I need to let that version of what my mom is supposed to be die, because we're all people and it's part of the human experience to procreate. And so your parent was just a person who decided to procreate, right? And so you got to accept them. Yeah, you got to accept them for who they are and not hold on to that hurt anymore. I think you're right. A lot of us really struggle with forgiveness, right? We struggle to forgive ourselves and we struggle to forgive other people. So kind of going back to what this whole thing was talking about, which was like, what is self-love? I have a hard time watching people's like Instagrams and reels and all that stuff where it's like, oh, self-love Sunday, I did a facial and I took a bubble bath and I bought these shoes. And I was like, baby girl, that's not real self-love. Like, that's cool. You
maintenance.
Your appearance.
That's getting an oil change. That's not loving on your car. Loving on your car is washing it and drying it off, playing the music while you driving the car off, you going, putting your finger through the little rims and getting all the little brake dust out and just making a whole day out of just washing your car. Maintenance is getting your car an oil change. So a woman like who's rubbing, so I would say, and let me know if I'm wrong, getting a massage is self-love, but getting your hair done and getting your nails done, would they be different or the same? Just as a woman.
Like most of everything that you do external is some of that maintenance, is some of that self-love though, right? Because you still have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of your being, because it's true, the better that you feel about your outward appearance, the better you're going to feel about your insides, right? That's why a lot of us went through depression in 2020, because we were sitting at home, not getting dressed, not brushing our teeth, not shaving our legs. Okay. So the outside definitely matters. That is a form of self-love. But if you really want to find that deep-rooted thing that is causing you to feel like you need to mask up your self-love with more makeup and, you know, more longer nails, and like that's the real work that you need to do, right? Because a lot of us we're treating the symptoms. We're not treating the disease.
Facts.
Right? And you have to treat the disease. So what is the disease, which just stands for dis-ease? What is it that's creating that dis-ease for you, right? And I'll go back to what I said, being very transparent. I had abandonment issues. And so instead of talking through with men saying, hey, when you run off on me at like that makes me feel abandoned, right? Instead of saying that, I just would close up, right? So it's just learning, okay, what is real self-love? So for me, whether he's receptive of it or not, which would tell me whether that's the person I'm supposed to be with, but if I tell him, hey, I'm feeling abandoned when you do X, Y, Z, if his rebuttal is get over it, I know he's not the person for me, because I'm telling you.
You're being emotional. That's another thing that men do that's wrong. You're just being emotional.
Exactly. That's the problem, because if he really wants you to sit in your feminine energy, wants this relationship to have that even balance, he's got to accept that you're an emotional being. And so I think that that's a big part of it. And trust me, ladies, this was hard for me. This was very hard for me. Like I said, I'm a financial advisor. Like, tell me a job more masculine than that, aside from like construction working or like actually like using your hands to do, like, come on. It's a pretty masculine position. It requires a lot of assertiveness. It's always required me to sit as the expert and never be wrong about anything. So when it came to relationships, I was probably the worst. Like, I think back on it and I was like, girl, you emasculating them back, like left and right. And it was cute when you're in your early 20s and you know all these things and they don't know anything about, but You get a little bit older, you're like, okay, the trajectory is life looks very lonely for a single woman in her mid 40s with no children, no husband. Like, that's cool. You got a $500,000 in the bank, but like, let's just talk on average. Like, that's a very lonely life.
Yeah. And it's on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like belonging is number 3. And that is right behind you know, water, shelter, safety, food, you know, stuff like that. And then it's belonging, you know. So women are literally going against their own nature with all this women empowerment crap and I don't need no man crap. You're literally going against your own biology. Biologically, we are meant to be together. We need human touch. Women do not touch. There's something called touch deprivation. And the reason why so many women are so hoish is because they spend a lot of time being extreme opposites. They go from being codependent and that don't work, and they go to independent, right? So there's a certain amount of touch deprivation when you go into your independence. I don't need no man. I don't need right? And you isolate yourself. You know, women love to say, I need time to myself, and they isolate themselves from men, from women, whatever, right? And they actually hurt themselves by doing this, because isolation is actually the worst thing you can do to a prisoner legally in prison. You know, so solitary confinement. So women put themselves in solitary confinement, and then they end up having to deal with the mindset of solitary confinement, and then is the touch deprivation side of it also. So then, since you don't need a man, and it's actually scared of men because you don't want to be codependent, so you become independent, two extreme opposites, instead of being interdependent. So you're over here, so you're isolating yourself, and then there's a certain amount of touch deprivation. So now you start looking at men as, I just need somebody to touch me. And it's just like somebody to touch me, because I don't like men. I don't want men. I'm scared of men, but I have touch deprivation. So it's like you go out on a date with a guy, and the second he touches you, like, you know, I want him to touch me, right? Then he touches you, and next thing you know, you're having sex with him. But now, due to the fact that you have this disassociation from love, because, you know, this man over here hurt you or whatever, you don't want to fall in love, but you need touches. You need sex. You need, you know, somebody to, you know. So now you separated intimacy from sex. So now you have this touch deprivation, but you don't want intimacy because you're scared of that. So now you have separated yourself from yourself. You separated yourself from your biology. You crave belonging, but you changed craving belonging into craving touch, craving sex, craving a nut. So now you have become a man. So even it's not just the money side that puts you into this manhood side of you. You're a man when it comes to your ways of getting your neurological things, which is serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins. So men crave dopamine and endorphins. Women crave serotonin and oxytocin. But when you have this touch deprivation, this isolation, I don't need no man. I'm women. I'm an empowered woman. You actually look at life from a man's point of view, and now you start looking at the same things men are looking at. You start looking at a man's print, and you know, you start look. Oh, he got them great jogger pants. That's how men look at women. We're like, oh, she got a fat ass. You start looking at a man the same way a woman, you start looking at a man the same way men look at women, because you start craving dopamine. So second you see a man's print, you're like, ooh, you know why men, it's the reason why men stare at women's butts, because the longer we stare at a butt, the more dopamine we get. We start, we're like, ooh, it literally gives us dopamine when we look at a woman's butt. Women get to the point where they start getting dopamine when they look at a man's whatever. You get what I'm saying? So now you literally become a man. So you start craving more dopamine. Now you got to go to more college. You got to do this. You got to make more money. Instead of getting more like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, more belonging, more safety, more feeling of everything's going to be okay, becoming that, you know, embracing your inner child or whatever. You forget about all that, and now you become lost. And this is how women become masculine. It actually turns into a dopaminergic thing. Your actual dopamine receptors start craving more dopamine, and your oxytocin receptors just start dissipating, where you don't need intimacy anymore because you talked yourself out of needing it, because your brain will literally give you whatever it is that you want. And if you say, I don't need oxytocin, your oxytocin receptors will actually slow down. You'll have less oxytocin receptors because you tell your brain you don't need it.
But I tell people that all the time. You can you can literally brainwash yourself into anything. You can brainwash yourself into success. You can brainwash yourself into a happy relationship, or you can brainwash yourself out of one. Right? Yeah. You can literally like you said, you can adjust your receptors. Yeah. And I think let's be very clear here about my understanding is, this is what my understanding of why you're saying what you're saying to and about women. I think at the root of it, you truly understand that women hold a lot more of the power than we see on the surface, right? Because if women are understanding that their biggest power is literally sex, right? Women, if all women decided to withhold sex today until marriage, what do you think would happen?
Men would marry women.
Men would marry women. I'm not saying there would be happy marriages, but I'm just saying that's where the power is.
Well, actually, happy marriages, because back in the 80s, LL Cool J, Keith Sweat, all of the artists, they was like baby, baby, and then it turned into Standing Out in the Rain, One Wish. It was like everybody was in the rain, dropping to their knees, like baby, baby, please. So we would actually like be happy with you because we seen you as a prize back then. You know what I'm saying?
There's anybody else to have sex with, so because women withholding sex till marriage. So
you have to make me happy because you're the only one I get sex from. Yeah.
So women hold a lot more power. So I think that's why it's important that we speak directly to women, because I think a lot of us don't understand our power. And so that's why I'm saying I don't know if women's empowerment is what we're supposed to call it, but women do need to recognize that if we held men to higher standards, right? So I live in Atlanta, and I hear a lot of women complain about dating in Atlanta, and they're like, "Oh, the men don't do this, they don't do that." Da, 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 da. Y'all don't hold them to that standard. Right. I don't get out with men who don't hold the door for me. I just don't. Why? Why? You don't hold the door for me? Oh, I know immediately. Oh, that's the end of this. I'm not going out with you again. Right. You don't pick up the tab. You want me to pick up the tab? Especially for the first date? What? No, we're not going on a date again. I'm not going to complain about this man. No, it's done for. Women hold way more power than we put out there.
Right. And I just want to say this because now I'm going down memory lane. Everybody in the chat, drop your favorite baby please artist. I got Troop in my mind right now. All I do is think of. Y'all don't even remember that. Like, see, look, Jacqueline don't even remember that. Y'all don't. I need y'all to look up Troop. TROOP. I mean TROOP. Yo, put in the chat your favorite baby please artist, whether it's Jodeci, drop it in the chat. I'm going down Mary Lane for a second, but go ahead. I remember back then, like, dudes really value women. Like, we literally, Rap TV said he remembers Troop. Like, Keith Sweat. Yeah, drop your favorite baby please artist. I want to see where y'all at. Joe, Jaheim, Casey and JoJo. That's what I'm talking about. Drop your favorite baby please artist. Freaking Usher. Gerald Levert. That's what I'm talking about. But go ahead, Jacqueline. I'm sorry. I just got in my bag real quick.
Hey, Cupid doesn't lie.
After 7.
What was I saying? I got distracted.
Sorry about that. I'm a Pisces. I get emotional. Genuine.
Hey, and that's okay.
So the bottom line is, y'all, is because I don't want to hold you up for too long. We having fun. But my thing is, we have to get rid of women empowerment. And me and you, Jacqueline, because we talked about it on the phone, we got to come up with a new word that will bring women to their own level of self-healing, but it doesn't take them away from men. It doesn't take them away from marriage. It doesn't take, because I think women empowerment takes them away from marriage. It makes them want to be this independent woman. You know what I'm saying? Tony. Yo, Tony. So it's about family, right? So a woman, because my whole thing is, like I said, if anybody was a prize, it'd be a man, because his level of influence is like no entity has more influence than a man, right?
No, it sucks. Like, if we go back to the statistics, the majority of men who sit in prisons were raised by single mothers.
Yeah. That's an absolute fact. Yeah.
It's like a hard pill for women to swallow, but I think the sooner that you swallow the pills, lady, the easier it becomes of understanding that, like, we're not equal. I think
we are not equal.
I think the sooner that we swallow that pill, the easier it becomes.
Right. And it's a heightened level of influence that men have over the world. It's not just men and women. It's not about their children. Like, somebody said shy. Woo! Oh my God, they don't say shy. Don't get me to singing up here. But Blackstreet, don't leave. Oh my God, Blackstreet. That's what I'm saying, y'all. Women, I want to empower you in a way that you actually want to be with a man, and you attract a man, and you pull a man to you.
Ooh. Let me say this.
Go ahead.
This may be helpful. So, and it's bad, and I might get canceled for this, but there's a lot of women that I meet with, single women, and that's the majority of my clients, and they'll be like, oh, well, I'm just struggling with this, or I want to make more money, and da-da-da-da-da. And sometimes I'm like, you could just get married. You do know that, right? Your income basically immediately doubles, and you have less stress. You're not carrying all the bills. You could get married. I'm just saying.
Yes.
$50,000 a year. He make $50,000 a year. Y'all make six figures as a household. You could be happy. Like, that could be I think about it like this. Because of social media, right? The internet changed everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
It changed absolutely everything. And so I think about this. We are always looking for, like, oh, I deserve 100% top tier, all of the best, da-da-da-da-da. That's not always going to happen in life. You're not always going to get the best of the best. It just happens like that. But you can get something that is very good for you. You can get, like, be realistic. You can get something that is very good for you. Yeah. Does he make all of the money in the world? No. But does he treat you well? Does he lead? Does he take care of things? Does he match your income so you're not having to carry all of the burden on your own? Being married could be a very good position for you. It could be a very good deal. It could be, I like to say, I listen to women and they complain. They're like, oh, well, he doesn't do this, da, 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 da. And I'm like, but look at all the good things. That could be a very good life for you. It's not a bad.
And the reason why women love to say he don't do this and he don't do that, she's always looking for a reason to get out of the relationship.
Oh yeah, that was me. Like, always self-sabotaging, always trying to find a way out, especially because if you deal with abandonment issues, it's not the fact of other people abandoning you. At the very root core crux of it, at the nucleus, it's because you don't trust yourself, right? Because you know that you will abandon yourself. You know that once you kind of, it's not as fun as it used to be, you will jump ship. Mm-hmm. You will flip your mind, you will change things. So at the very core, think about it. If you have that same struggle, think about it. At the very core, it's that you will leave the situation. It's not that other people will leave you. It's that you will leave, right? And y'all still dropping all these names in the comments. We over here, we're going to stay around for the 90s R&B party, okay? But I think that's what it is at the core is you got to know yourself, right? And so I think that's key.
Jacqueline, I think we got something. Shout out to my girl, Dana. Family empowerment. Oh my God. I think that's it.
Look, this is my only hesitancy with that. That's
family empowerment.
That's solid, but it's like I feel like that would be the men's movement, because for women, we are already family empowerment. We do most of the work in the family. We're as single women, we're doing all the things.
Wait,
So it's
what do you
like,
mean?
I don't know if that's it.
That's not a family. A family is a man, woman, and a child, not a woman and a child. That's not a
But
family.
I'm saying we're already doing all of the work. We're doing all of the household work. We do all of the childcare work. That's why most of us were raised by
But
single
you don't have
women
a
households.
family.
Doing all of the work.
But you don't have a family.
We
There's no
don't, but
family. You don't. It's just a woman and a child. That's not a family. So there's no
but you
family
think, but you
empowerment.
think but you think that the hiccup is the women?
What do you mean?
Do you think the hiccup and the reason why, let's say, Black families in general are not together and most families are led by single women is because of women?
Yes.
Yikes.
I'm confused.
I just don't know that family empowerment fits for women, because I just don't know that all of it is on women.
No, I'm not saying all birds don't fly. So all of nothing is nothing. All cats aren't black. Like, we can't just see this. This is the extreme opposite thing, right? Women have a tendency to go all the way. Not all women, not all birds can fly. But when I talk about birds, I'm talking about birds that fly. If I talk about birds that don't fly, I would specifically say the birds that don't fly. So when I talk about a bird, everybody will be talking about a bird that flies. So when I say women are the problem, it doesn't mean all women are the problem, because that don't make no sense, right? But if women are the parents of 90% of us, and 90% of us are screwed up, women are the problem. Now, there's people who have 2-parent households raised by their dads and that are screwed up, but the statistics don't lie. The statistics don't lie. Women, when they are, and I could play the video if you want me to, but I could just say it. The statistics say that men raising children by themselves have the same outcomes as 2-parent families raising their children. The actual problem is when a woman raises a child by herself. That child has a 75% chance of losing their life, going to prison, becoming a single mother, committing the S word, and becoming violent towards the opposite sex or towards the same sex, becoming strippers, being on OnlyFans. The woman is the actual person that pushes people to the edge of death. Women do this. Why? Because if you just think about the typical woman, just like what you're saying, right? I don't want this angry, traumatized person, because me and you agreed that women are traumatized worse than men. So how are we going to ignore that the person that is traumatized the most is the one that is in charge of the black people when they were children, you know? Because it goes back to Willie Lynch letter. The Willie Lynch letter says you train a slave the same way you train a horse. You don't worry about the male horse. You bring the male horse in to make sure that, you know, the more babies are made. Then you let the male horse go. It's called a mare, I think, M-A-R-E, I think. You keep the female horse corralled, because a female horse, if you break the female horse would break the baby horses by teaching them how to be broken. So the owner of the horses can continue, you know, the breaking process. It's called the breaking process of the African female. You don't break the male. You do something bad to the male. You don't break the male. You break the female. You do something bad to the male in front of the female to break the female. So it's always the breaking of the female, and it's the blanking of the male. You don't break the male, you break the female. So you blank, do something terrible to the male in front of the female so you can break her. So she's the most important part of the Willie Lynch letter. So when we say the woman is the problem, the man is not the problem, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the number one conduit to our destruction is the woman. Does that make sense?
Is the single woman.
Yes, the manless woman. The manless woman is the conduit to our destruction. The more single women out here, the more disease, the more crackheads, the more convicts, the more strippers, the more single mothers are going to be out here. The more single women out, the manless women are out here. Yeah. So hold on, let me read this super chat. Thank you, Cognitive Decision. I am a social worker in foster care child abuse sector, and 90% of the kids come from single mother homes. Most of my kids come from mental illness, experience abuse, etc. A child from a single mother home is 400 times likely to observe abuse. Thank you, Cognitive Decision. I appreciate you. I'm gonna leave your super chat up. So you are the sponsor for this live. So I appreciate you. So let me play this real quick. But what do you got? What are your thoughts on that while I look for this video? Because now we're about to get really deep, and I don't want to hold you for too long, but I want to at least end with this. But go ahead. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I got a little bit more time. I think sometimes some things I circle back to me, and sometimes I circle back to my like understanding and experience of other people. But I am one of that 400%. Like I watched not only my mom get whooped, but I watched her instigate. Love you, mom. Love you. Right. I watched you throw a brush from across the room at him. He was nowhere near you. Okay. So I understand that women are like, if you come from a single parent household, you are probably likely to find abuse, because as women, feminine energy doesn't handle stress well. And if you're a single mother household, you're managing a lot of stress. You're managing income, budgets, you're managing children, you're managing yourself, right? And you're trying to date probably at the same time, or you're open to date, not working, so you're frustrated, so you're even more stressed, and you're not handling stress well. So a lot of times not handling stress well comes out in abuse. Either you're accepting abuse or you are the abuser, or both in the situation. So I think that that's true, and that's hard to fathom.
All right, so I got the video right here.
Process of the African woman. Take the female and run a series of tests on her to see if she will submit to your desires willingly. Test her in every way, because she is the most important factor for good economics. Nature had provided for this type of balance.
So remember, she is the most important factor to keeping slaves. Because when he said good economics is keeping slaves. The Black woman is the most important part to all of this. Hold on, let me keep going.
We reversed nature by her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed. The ordeal caused her to move from her psychological dependent state to a frozen, independent state. In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reversed roles.
So when we talk about independent state, right, you got to remember this book was written years and years and years, I think in the 1800s, right? And they're using independent. We're in 2023 still talking about I'm independent. So I want y'all to just think about how something that was written and taught or talked about in the probably in the 1700s, y'all asses are still running around with your fist up saying the same shit. That's the craziest part about this.
The ordeal caused her to move from her psychological dependent state to a frozen, independent state. In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reversed roles. The ordeal caused her to move from her psychological dependent state to a frozen, independent state. In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reversed roles. For fear of the young male's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent, but physically strong. For fear of the young male's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak and dependent, but physically strong.
So this part right here in particular is important because it's when a woman is raising a boy, the number one thing that happens is she teaches the boy to not get in trouble. It's called risk avoidance. She teaches her son to be risk avoidant. Don't do this. Don't do. What if this happens? What if that happens? Well, we set fire to shit. We run around. We get a remote control car and we break it to find out what makes the wheels go. How does this remote control from all the way over here make this? We want to learn. We break shit. We go to creeks and we skip rocks on water. We go do dangerous stuff. We're males. But when we're raised by females, we don't go to the creek. We don't do all these different things. We don't, as boys, we don't just ride our bikes. We do tricks on our bikes that makes us fall and skin our knee up. We're risky people, right? I literally had somebody drive a car real fast, and I was on the hood of the car and got thrown off the hood of the car. And we took turns seeing who can stay on the hood of the car the longest. And we all got thrown off and I almost broke my wrist doing it. And we jumped up laughing because we wanted to see when Starsky and Hutch and all these people would jump on the hood of a car, was it real? We do stuff like this. But if our moms knew this, they would, oh my God, she would have called the police on somebody or whatever, right? This is what we men did. This is what we men do now. So the thing about it is, a lot of us lost money in the crypto market. Why? Because we wanted to. We take risks. We're men. So when we're raised by women, we're risk avoidant. And now we're scared of shit. I ain't scared of a goddamn thing. I slap the shit out of a bear, shark. I don't give a damn. I slap them straight in the mouth. I jack a wolf and hold it up in the air and make it beg to be let down. I slap the shit out of a goddamn wolf. I ain't scared of a goddamn thing. Because I was raised, I was outside. I was raised by men. I was raised by the hood, and it was bad, but I was raised by men, and I ain't scared of shit. You get what I'm saying? So the thing about it is the essence of a man can't be like pushed down and suppressed by a woman. So that's why the woman is the problem, but not the only problem. Because we are to a certain degree, y'all bitches. What are your thoughts on that?
What was the last thing you said? You cut out. You froze.
Oh, I said men are the problem also, but part of the reason why men are the problem is because y'all made us a problem by making us bitches and risk avoidant and soft and lazy because we were raised by women. So it goes back to women being the problem, why we are the problem.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to stomach, honestly, because I feel like it puts so much responsibility on a woman's shoulders, right? Like you're so responsible for literally being that conduit. Like, let's say your child's father is like, I don't want to be in his life at all. Now it's your responsibility to find another male figure for your son. Otherwise, these are the statistics, right? These are the possibilities. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it just pushes so much pressure on her shoulders. Like it's a lot of responsibility.
Think about this, Jacqueline. you put that pressure on your shoulders by yourself when you had the baby without being married. Because if you were married, if you had a husband, the responsibility will be on your husband or ex-husband's shoulders. But since you did not do things the right way, you put things on your shoulders. See, Kevin Samuels used to say, the burden is on a man's shoulders, but women don't have shoulders. They have the burden needs to be put on their hips. But you put your own burden on your own shoulders when you go out and have a fatherless baby. So we got to look at things from a contextual standpoint. Where did the burden come from? It came from your bad decisions in your womb. Ain't nobody put that burden on you. Nobody puts burdens on women's shoulders, but their own women. You either are taught to put the burden on your shoulders so you can feel empowered and independent, or you went out and put the burden on your shoulders on yourself. But ain't nobody put no burden. Women don't go through nothing. If you're not a single mother, women don't go through nothing, Jacqueline.
I agree with a lot of that because
they have beautiful lives until they ruin their own lives and they got to pull themselves out of their own ditch that they dug.
Ugh, you're coming so hard right now. I thought we was winding down. No, but it's true though. And that's why I push a lot of women towards soft life. Like even as a businesswoman, and I have a group of mentees too, I teach them how to be financial advisors and get paid. But I tell them a lot of times, I'm like, you want to have a soft life, and there's this thing going around from other businesswomen that we can't have a soft life. Why? Why does my life have to be hard, right? Because that's the opposite. It's either soft or it's hard. Why does your life have to be hard? Your life is only hard if you keep making choices that make your life hard. If you keep making choices to be hyper independent. Hyper independent doesn't work for man or woman, right? We're just talking about women right now. Hyper independence doesn't work. Like right. we've seen that hyper independence doesn't work. If it's not because you feel like you can provide for yourself, you're going to be lonely, right? Part of the human experience, the belonging. So the hyper independence doesn't work. And we have to figure out as women, I guess, where do we take that responsibility? Like you said, right? Where are you making the choices that make your life hard? I had to do my own self-evaluation of like, why do you feel like you're carrying all this burden by yourself and making all of these choices and making all of these decisions? Oh, because you want to be overly independent and you want to brag to the guy that your portfolio is bigger than his and you know more and da-da-da-da-da. And so I had this question on another podcast from somebody who was like, okay, so what do you do when you get into like talking to a guy? Do you start like, telling him, oh, you know how to do this and the investments and blah, blah, blah. And I said, absolutely not. I started getting to the point where when I date, I don't even tell men that I'm a financial advisor. I tell them I'm in education. Okay. And if we dig a little bit deeper, I'm in financial education. Okay. You're going to find out later, but off rip, it makes men feel very, very emasculated if I know more about money than they do. So for women who are listening, you may have to dial that back from the beginning. And somebody was like, oh, well, isn't that you making yourself small and not accepting who you really are? And I don't feel like it's like that at all.
You are small. You're a dainty woman and you are small. You're a girl. What's wrong with being small? We want women small. We don't want to see the thing about it is we don't want women big.
Not small.
We want them small.
Not small. We're delicate. I tell them I'm a delicate flower. Okay.
But flowers are small.
I'm not LeBron coming down the lane with my short. No, I'm not that.
But I want you to think about a flower. I've never seen a big flower. Flowers are small. A plant is big. A flower is small.
You ever seen a sunflower? Sunflowers grow like 7 feet tall.
The typical flower is small, is all I'm saying. And women are small. There's nothing wrong with being small. Be small. That's why so many women are fat, because they don't want to be small.
The problem with calling women small is that that's like telling women to be humble, right? Like, don't tell me to be humble, because to be humble is to be of less importance. And I know that I'm important as a
You're
woman.
less important.
So I'm not going to make myself small. But I'm
less important, Jacqueline.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not going to make myself small. That's not what I'm doing.
You're less important.
I'm moving and letting people know that I am delicate.
But I want to ask you this. You just said being small is less important. And I said women are less important. And you just said, I understand that women are less important, but I'm not. Women are, I think that's the problem. Women, huh?
I didn't hear the less important part. We're not less important.
Y'all are less important.
We have to populate the earth. You can't not have us. You need us.
We populate the earth.
All the sperm that y'all have donated to the sperm
bank. We populate the earth.
We could kill all y'all off, and we could keep repopulating the earth.
Jacqueline, we populate the earth.
How? How are you gonna carry a child?
Us.
Yeah,
men and women populate the earth. Women don't populate the earth. Men and women populate the earth. Men and women populate the earth. Y'all don't populate no damn earth. We all. So in other words, the most important part of biology is the sperm. Without sperm, everybody dies. The sperm is the third or fourth most important substance on the planet, next to blood, air, water, and then you got sperm. Women do not have a substance that is important, period. You have blood just like we have blood. Okay, we both breathe air and we both have water inside of us because we drink water, but y'all don't have the fourth most important substance on the planet, which is sperm. So sorry, men are more important than women, and it's okay. And the key word is it's okay. Women are not equal to men. Men are more important. We have dominion over the entire planet. Women don't control not one sector of the planet. Not one sector of the planet, not one sector. Nobody has to go to a woman for anything, anywhere on the entire planet. Nowhere on the planet somebody's going to a woman and saying, hey, would you trade this for this or give this to me because I don't have? So it's okay for women to not be as important as men, but it's important for women to realize where they sit at, because that's the women empowerment mess. Women are not as important as men. We hold sperm in our balls. Women don't. And this is important. And I'm not on my soapbox or whatever, but this is more for the audience and not for you. So y'all can run around thinking y'all important all y'all want to, but it's going to be at your detriment. So go ahead. I just had to say that. You good?
Maybe that's my ego, y'all, because I'm not accepting that one. Like I'm not. Yeah. I think maybe because I'm coming from a woman who wasn't raised by a confident woman who had mommy issues, that I don't think I could look at. I don't know.
Okay, so hold on. Let's take a second. Shout out to L. Nixon, the voice of reason. Shout out to you, brother. What's going on, bro? Came through to support. Salute to you and hello to the panel and the guests. Good afternoon, chat. Let me read these super chats real quick. Hold on, let me.
No, forget y'all super chat.
Cognitive this discussion. 80% of the country is maintained by men. What is she talking about? Shout out to you for the super chat. She said, forget y'all super chats. And hold on, let me get to the cash apps while we here. And shout out to Valerie for the cash app. I appreciate you. Shout out to Greg for the cash app. I appreciate you. And shout out to Tasha for the cash app. I appreciate you. You can just so y'all know, y'all can actually say something in the cash app also if you want to. So I appreciate y'all.
So look, this is why I have a hard time accepting that, because we also got to reel y'all in. Toxic masculinity is a real thing. So
it's not.
Yes, it is.
There's no such thing of toxic masculinity.
Some of y'all running around.
Y'all don't have to reel us in. See, this is the problem. This is the problem, Jacqueline. Y'all can't reel us in. That's the first thing, because y'all don't control shit. And the second thing is, who are y'all to be trying to reel somebody in? We need to reel y'all asses in. Y'all are the ones that are out of everything. Y'all are out of control, and y'all are out of your range. You are out of everything. That's why we both called y'all gremlins. You did and I did. Y'all are running around jumping up. See, the thing about it is, y'all don't have the ability to do anything. Everything that you have, every food you eat comes from men. You know what I'm saying? So the thing about it is you can't eat without us. So we got to reel y'all asses in. And that is the actual problem. Y'all think y'all control something where y'all think y'all can reel us in. No, the problem is y'all keep demonizing us for being men. We supposed to be masculine. There is no such thing of toxic masculinity, but there is a such thing of toxic femininity, because the reason why we're here is we both agreed that y'all have turned into gremlins because it's toxic femininity. We supposed to be masculine. We supposed to be out here with our chest out.
Well, let me say where it's coming from though. Okay. Toxic masculinity. A man who cannot provide, who wants to move as if he's a man. And I'm like, you can't be a man.
Huh?
You can't say, oh, I want to lead a family. You need to do this, follow all of these rules that I have, but you make $30,000 a year.
How is that toxic masculinity? That's just a man that is acting like a woman, because if you think about what you just said, that is what women be saying. So men are literally, I hate saying the word talking points, but men, these loser ass men, have the same talking points as women, because women like, he got to have this amount of money. He has to have this. He got to be 6 foot. And she has unrealistic expectations, right? So the same thing that you're saying about men, these men are acting like women. They have toxic femininity, not toxic masculinity, because the same things you're saying is the same talking points as women. So these are men who are acting like women. That is toxic femininity. These men are saying, because let me tell you something, Jacqueline. I can get virtually any woman I want, but I ain't run around saying what type I want a woman, da, 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 da. No, because I summon women. You feel me? I don't run around trying to tell a woman what she needs to do. She's going to want to do it because I make her feel safe enough to do it. So I have a summoning skill. A king summons people, right? I don't make nobody do nothing. The toxic femininity is to off with her head. A woman said that. And that was in the girl that jumped down the hole. What is it?
Alice in Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland. Those were women saying off with her head. A king doesn't say shit. You know what I'm saying? A king summons things. A king knights people. A king appoints people. A king doesn't say anything. He just has things happen. And if things don't happen, shit happens. You feel me? That's what I'm saying. And that is masculinity, not toxic masculinity. It's something called toxic femininity. So when you see these dudes, which I agree with, these broke ass dudes run around, slapping women around, fighting women, arguing women, saying what they want and they can't afford it. That's what women do. So these men are acting like women, Jacqueline. You know what I'm saying? So we have to just put I believe in context. These men are women. Toxic femininity is the problem. There is no toxic masculinity. When a man, remember, I told you, when a man argues, when a man reacts, that is femininity. Remember, we talked about it. I said the typical man, a masculine man, when he gets emotional, he shuts down, right? When a man gets feminine and he actually starts blah, 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 that is feminine. So how is a man who yells, a man who argues, a man who fights women, how is that toxic masculinity? That is toxic femininity. He's now acting in his feminine. These are feminine traits. Masculinity isn't toxic. We got to put things in context.
But femininity can be toxic.
Huh?
But so masculinity can't be toxic, but femininity can be toxic.
Yes. When a woman becomes masculine, she is toxic. When a man becomes feminine, he becomes toxic. So we got to look at, because if you take oil isn't toxic, but you put oil with water, now there's a problem, right? They don't mix. If you take a Mentos and drop it in a Coca-Cola, it blows up, right? But you can eat a Mentos and you can drink Coca-Cola. But when you put them together, they become toxic. So when a woman becomes masculine, she's now toxic. When a man becomes feminine, he becomes toxic. So it's when you put two things in the same container and it blows up. And another thing, too much turns toxic. You know?
Yeah.
Too much of anything can kill you, right?
Feminine energy in a man.
Yes. Right.
Turns toxic.
Right. So I don't look at men as being too masculine. I don't think that can actually happen because it's who we are. You know, and just in my opinion, I've never seen a man that is too masculine. Because a man, when he becomes an alpha male, yelling and telling people what to, and shouting and shit, he's actually feminine. He's just a big dude. He just has muscles, but he's acting like a woman. Because a man doesn't have to talk. A man just sits back and just chills out. See, let me give you an example. I used to look at mob movies, right? The mob boss, he does this. He goes, and then the worker goes and does something. I don't know if you ever seen that. Mm-hmm. It's an old man. He's sitting back chilling. He's a boss. He tells everybody what to do. And he summons somebody, right? And he whispers in his ear, hey, get that dude out of here. You know what I'm saying? And then the dude gets whacked. So the man, the louder he is, the more feminine he is. I used to look at mob movies. So I have a healthy understanding of the power of a man and how a masculine man acts. Another aspect of the mob boss, he loves everybody. He kisses everybody. He kisses them on the cheek. How's your mother? Your mother's good? Okay, good. All right, your mother's good? How's your mother? All right. He always cares about people's mothers. You feel me? He wants to make sure everybody's good. He gives out turkeys and shit. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, if you cross him, he doesn't do nothing. He does this. Next thing you know, that nigga is gone. That's what a masculine man does. He appoints and he summons. He don't talk. So the louder a man is, that is not toxic masculinity. He is now in his feminine.
I wasn't talking about him being loud. I was talking about him not being a provider, which I mean, I can see that as being more feminine. And I'm talking about the facade. I'm talking about the facade, though. The facade of you are a provider and you're not. And
the facade is a wig wearing woman, a eyelash wearing woman, a makeup wearing woman. So the facade is actually feminine also. So when a man acts like he's something that he's not, the facade is actually feminine also. No?
That makes sense.
Having a facade, having an image that isn't true is actually feminine because that's what women do. L'Oreal and all these makeup commercials. We don't have makeup commercials because we niggas. We gonna show up the way we is and you gonna love us or you can get the hell out of here. You feel me? I'm just saying. We don't have facades. We don't have images. No. We got kiss my ass. You want take it or leave it. That's what we have. That's what men have. We don't have images. We don't have facades. That's feminine. That's toxic femininity.
Well, I mean, I have another thought with the provider role. So I think that when we talk about providing, I've always said that money management is one of the most important non-natural skills of our time. Agree or disagree? Agree? So if we're talking about protect and provide, I'm just wondering, how are y'all protecting and providing when you can't afford insurance for your family, right? You can't afford to pay the bills. Like, we're talking about protecting and providing and being in your masculine energy, right? And I agree with you that being fake is more, I can agree with more feminine. I never really thought about that at all. Like, I never thought about that. Like, that never crossed my mind. I'm like, oh, women wear makeup. It's a
facade. Yeah.
Okay, cool. We can run with that. But I do think that the financial piece is important if you want to provide, like protect and provide. That's the first thing that you always went to, is like, this is the most important thing for men to do. So how do you protect and provide if you don't make money, if you don't have financial means? We don't live in, I respect you for slapping the bear and the shark and the wolf and doing all of that. That's cool. But like, I live in a high-rise condo in Atlanta. I don't need a man to do that. So
You do need a man to do that.
Not to slap a shark. Fit,
But
not
who built the high rise?
No, I definitely do need a man for that. Absolutely.
Who keeps the elevator running
No,
so you can go downstairs?
That's what I'm saying. No, that's what I'm saying. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Right? Men, y'all do all the jobs. Y'all do the engineering. The most important things that a country needs to sustain itself is not content creators. Y'all love y'all, but
did you ever meet the elevator repairman?
Y'all need law, construction, and medicine, right? Mm-hmm. Most lawyers are men, most construction workers are men, and most people in medicine, most doctors are men. So I 100%
men. Mm-hmm.
I'm saying protect and provide being your number one thing, right? Yeah. You need income to do that, yes or no?
I agree with you on that. So my answer to that is there was a Greek philosopher that said her name was Cardi B. She said broke niggas don't get no poom poom. So with all that being said, if women, because we talk about how women have power, right? And you said your power is in sex, right? So if broke dudes or these non-providers can no longer get poom poom, right? They would get off their asses. But sadly, women love broke dudes because it goes back to what we talked about earlier, the distraction. The broke dude is your distraction. So women get with toxic dudes, broke dudes, stupid dudes, argumentative dudes, feminized dudes, effeminate dudes in order to distract themselves from their own trauma. So women, goes back to women all the time, right? If women were to stop giving up their wombs to broke ass dudes, because the same dudes y'all love to complain about is the dudes y'all have babies by, not you in particular, but y'all have babies by the same dudes that y'all complain about. You know what I'm saying? So that's the actual issue. So it goes back to the woman in every situation. Yes. Are we the leaders? Are we the providers? Do we control everything in the world? Yes. But from a micro standpoint, because we were talking about from a macro standpoint, who builds the buildings and all this other stuff. But from a micro standpoint, women are literally the actual disease that everybody complains about. You are your own disease because you keep having sex with Pookie and Ray Ray. You're having babies by the dumbest dudes in your neighborhoods. And then you complain about dumb dudes. Like not you in particular, but who's your baby daddy? Virtually all of black women, like almost every black woman, her first baby daddy is by a loser. But that's the number one guy that y'all love to complain about. But y'all give a baby to a loser in a minute. So y'all are your own problem, because it goes back to what you said too. You said women have all these burdens. And I said women create the burdens, because the burden usually comes out your damn womb. But who did you make the burden? Well, not a baby, but who did you start this whole burdening situation with? You had, because the reason why everything is on you is because your baby daddy is trash. So you create your own burden by sleeping with a dude that's trash, because he was trash before you had a baby with him, but y'all love him. He manipulated me. No, you got with a burden, and then you made a burden, and then your life is a burden. So your baby is a baby Pookie, and then your baby daddy is a grown Pookie, and now you're like, oh, life is terrible, men are trash. No, your decision making is trash. So women make their own. Women are the creators, right? Huh?
Yeah, I said, let's be clear, y'all. He's not talking to me. I don't have any.
No, not you.
We're just talking here, but
yeah,
no,
just women. Period. The gremlins.
It's the point of not having a soft life is because you didn't make the choice to live a soft life, right? Mm-hmm. Like I had people asking me about what was my opinion on student loan forgiveness, and I was like, I think it's a drop in the bucket in terms of debt, but overall, I think that at some point we have to take responsibility, right? I remember sitting in college, and this was like back when we actually had like the desktop computers, and everybody was taking their student loans at the same time. And y'all, this happened because I was a college athlete. So we're all taking our student loans at the same time. I didn't take any loans because I was like, don't say that. And I was like, I don't think I want to do that, right? So now fast forward, we got a bunch of people who are 30 years old complaining about they can never get out from under their student loans. Where do you take the responsibility for that, right? So the same thing happens with I mean, women, because we are talking about women being the correct ones here, the ones that have a lot of the power. So we have to make the right decision. So you have to make the right decision for how you want your life to play out. And if you have had the baby by the person that you don't really care for, what you call Pookie and Ray Ray, if that's not what you want, that's not what you intended for your life, the point is you can reinvent yourself at any moment. You can reinvent, you can recreate your entire life at any moment. Reality is negotiable.
Yes.
Right?
Whoa.
Figure out how to play the game. Reality
is not negotiable. We gotta. I get what you're saying, but reality is reality.
Right, is negotiable. If you don't like where you are in life, you can change it. 100%.
You can say your personal reality is negotiable by you, but reality is not negotiable.
Yeah, your personal life, your reality.
Yeah,
right?
your own.
Like,
yeah.
If you're thinking that Pookie and Ray Ray are gonna step up and be the men that you want them to, or going back to the trauma with your parents, if you think that the parent's gonna step up and be the mom you always wanted her to be, you're being delusional.
Yeah.
Right?
So think about what you just said, Jacqueline. Go ahead.
Your personal reality is negotiable. Right? You can understand that, okay, I have to grieve the loss of my mother, of who I thought that I wanted her to be, and start to accept her for who she is. And then I can start to have a better reality because I can stop expecting these things out of this person that's not going to give them to me.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm saying your personal reality is negotiable. If you don't like your life, you can change it at any moment. That's what I'm saying.
And I need everybody to hit the like button. Some of y'all ain't hit the damn like button sitting here watching. Hit the freaking like button. Drop a super chat. Cash App is Aaron 1000. Hit the like button, y'all. We need about 120 likes. Y'all tripping. Hit the freaking like button. So when it comes to all of this, right, it's about being responsible for your own decisions. And men are responsible for their own decisions to a certain degree. We fail at a lot, right? And we let me say this, because this is real. And a lot of men will say this and can attest to this. The dumber we act, the more of a loser we look like, the more poom we get. It's a real thing. I would literally pull away from a woman for like 2 months simply because I'm over here with another woman or some other women or whatever. And back in the day, not now, I would tell her, "Oh, sorry about that. I got locked up." I would lie and say I was in jail for 2 months. I would tell women, "What do you do?" "Oh, I be in the studio." I be telling women dumb stuff just to see. And those women would just give me whatever, you know what I'm saying? Because
this guy, I heard this guy say he was on dating apps. I'm not on dating apps, y'all. He was on dating apps and he was like, he was like, I will put on there that I'm looking for a long-term relationship just because I'll get more high quality women.
Well, that's different because he's trying to, it's a lie. But the thing about it is, I'm saying men will make themselves look like a Pookie, and they would get more attention from women, because this is what's crazy. And this is the psychology of a lot of women. If you see a man that is relationship material, husband material, a lot of women, not all women, she'll literally make him wait for the sex, right? But if a dude is just like, yo, I know this dude don't mean me no good. He's a Pookie, but he's attractive. She gonna give him sex in 2 days, right? And it's a real thing. So when it comes to women making bad decisions and it turning into little walking bad decisions, and they turn into grown bad decisions for other people, because women, they're not just Pookie pickers, they're Pookie makers, they're Pookie protectors. They're, they it's like an easy bake oven. Then and you put a Pookie in there, you put a, you know what I'm saying? They make Pookies. They replicate Pookies. So the thing about it is, and I'm not putting all the onus on women, but we're talking about women. If women were to make better decisions, it will be less Pookies out here, because the men who don't make a lot of money will be forced to make more money. We agreed on that earlier, because they can't get sex, right? Because we all would get married if we can't get sex from women. We literally will marry you because we can't get sex from other women, and we won't cheat because there's nobody to cheat with. You know what I'm saying? So that's the power of women. So I believe in the power of women. And when you like misuse your power and you use it for evil instead of good, we all suffer because y'all are the parents of the majority of Black people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, in closing, I'll say this. The decisions that we make in private have public consequences.
Facts.
We think that we're making this decision to sleep with this man in private, and then all of a sudden out pops a baby and your private decision has now been made public.
Yep.
So it happens a lot, right? We make private decisions to not be, and I don't really like the term submissive, but we make private decisions to not submit to the relationship, right? And to not figure out how things work and how things operate. We make private decisions to do that. And then publicly everyone sees, oh, you dated this person, not married, right? All of these things, right? So the private decisions that we make have public consequences. And so I feel like that was a lot of what we were talking about today, right? Yeah. Understanding that I will agree with this to a certain extent, that we're not the prize. And that's been hard for me to stomach and to share, right? To say, like, y'all
don't do nothing.
Listen, women can be seen.
Y'all not supposed to do anything.
Women
but y'all don't.
As incubators, right? Our role as a support system. Obama doesn't become president if he doesn't have Michelle.
I agree with you. I agree with that.
Right? Women
affirmed him. Yes.
Yes. So women can be great support roles.
Mm-hmm.
Women also make great leaders. If she wants to be in her masculine, that's the thing. In a relationship, somebody has to choose the masculine and somebody has to choose the feminine. So if she chooses the masculine and he chooses the feminine and they're happy together, more power to them. There's nothing for us to talk about, right?
Let me say this, the power of a woman. In the movie John Q, there's a reason why he ran up in that hospital to save his son and eventually saved his son's life. And, it wasn't a good thing, but it was something that happened early in that movie that literally caused that movie to turn in that movie. Do you know what that was?
No, don't take me.
His wife says, do something. That was it. That's all he needed. And that's the power of a woman. That's the beauty of a woman. So I'm never gonna say a woman don't do nothing, but y'all don't be doing a lot of stuff because y'all don't. But it's the intrinsic value of a woman. It's the inspiration of a woman. It's how a woman affirms us and makes us feel, how she supports us. That whole movie came from 2 words. Do something. Our child is about to die and the hospital ain't doing nothing about it. Do something. And he did something and he turned into a man and went and made it happen and saved his son's life. But it came from his mother saying, do something. So these are the things that women actually inspire in us. You know what I'm saying? So I'm never going to take away the power of a woman. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're incubators, right? We can take your idea and we can
multipliers,
grow it, right? We can take the house that you bought and we can make it into a home. There's a lot of things that we can do, right? We are still, for all women, we are still valuable. You're worth something. I don't like this narrative on the internet that women are not valuable and we're not worth anything, right? We can argue.
Y'all are valuable.
We can argue the importance on the scale, but it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, we still have value, right? Yes. And I think that women who make good decisions in private, everybody will see in public what the outcome of that is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that the better that we do individually as women, the better we can help other women, right? The better you help your children, the better you help nieces, nephews, other people's children, the more collective we can be to get back to that family empowerment that we were sharing, right?
I agree.
That's really, really key. You guys don't know my full background, but I'm a generational wealth expert. So my mom inherited $1.4 million from the sale of our 1,000 acres, which had been in the family for generations. And she lost all of that money within about 4 years. And that's what drove me to be a financial advisor, because I was like, wait, I don't think this is how this is supposed to go. I'm very confused. And so I became a financial advisor. And now I'm sitting at the point looking at generational wealth for myself and what my next situation, what my legacy looks like, right? And so I tell people you have two legacies. You leave a legacy while you are living, and you leave one after you pass. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have all the power to make the decisions about how your legacy looks like while you're alive and what it looks like when it passes. So for me, I know that I want my legacy while I'm living to be one that empowers women with financial confidence, right? Understanding, because you got to think about it like this. Even if you let your man lead, even if he makes all the money, what if something happens to him while he's out there protecting and providing and building that high rise and securing that high rise? What if something happens to him? Then what do? You're just in disarray. It's a big mess. What happens?
No, Jacqueline, this is because this is important. Anybody that I touch close to me, I'm going to protect them even when I'm dead. And it ain't even about money. It's about up here. Like, and that is what a man does, a provider, protector. My kids are going to be be protected and provided for even when I'm dead, because they're going to have a mindset that nobody's ever going to take from them. They're going to have a direction that nobody can ever take from them.
That's part of it. So there's three components to generational wealth, right? The first one is the values. What are the values that you leave behind for your family? Right? Yeah. What are the values that you're instilling in your wife even? Okay. The second piece is education. How are you educating your children? How are you educating your family? Right? Whether it's formally, informally, right? How are you spreading that to other people so that the people in your family are not ignorant? Because the biggest thing is ignorance is not a bliss when it comes to your money. Right. Yeah. That's how you get taken advantage of. That's how you don't grow wealth. That's how you lose 1.4 million in 4 years. And the final piece of it is your actual money. Right. So the best example of that is looking at Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. They've come out publicly and said, yeah, I'm not giving my children all of my money. And if you don't understand how money works or generational wealth works, then you think, what? That's stupid. Why would you build all of this up not to leave it with your family? But if you understand the three components of generational wealth, your family values, your education, and then finally the money piece, then you understand why they're not leaving all the money behind, because they instilled so many family values and so many ways for them to survive in this life. And they have also provided education for them that they don't need to leave all of their money behind. So I agree. It's not just about the money piece.
And we're going to close this out. Everybody hit the like button. Everybody hit the like button. Everybody hit the like button. If you want to drop a super chat before we leave, go ahead and do that now, because we're about to head out. This was a great conversation. And the number one thing I want to say is women have power. Women are important. But when it comes to the context side of it, women are not as important as men. And the reason why that's important to know is so you women can sit y'all asses down somewhere. Because I don't say something just for ego standpoints, but ladies, sit y'all asses down somewhere. And I think that's the most important thing. You think you are this whatever, you're not. You're just a little girl that has been through some things. Go get some therapy. Stop having father's babies with Pookie. And then even if you have had a baby with Pookie, if you know where Pookie is, let your child go live with Pookie, because even though he's a Pookie, he's going to have he or she, your child, will have a better life with your Pookie baby daddy than with you. Because just like you were traumatized by your mother, you're going to inadvertently and without even realizing it, traumatize your child. So go find Pookie wherever he is. If he lives with his mama or whatever, just let your kid live with Pookie so your child can experience living with her dad. And instead of just getting child support or getting yelled at by, your mom, whatever. But the bottom line is, the number one thing we have to do is to get these children away from these women. That is the number one thing we have to do. But it's not saying that women aren't important. Women are very important when it comes to where they stand as far as she's a support system, right? But that's really all she is. She's the supporter of a man. But without a man, she is lost. So ladies, y'all might get mad at the things I say, but you are the supporter of a man. But if you're not with a man, to a certain degree, you can turn into something that is detrimental to men. So get some therapy, sit down somewhere, acquiesce to a man that you trust. And if you don't trust any men, most likely is because you don't trust yourself, which will take therapy, because men are very trustworthy depending on who you pick. But if you keep dealing with and dating and having babies with pookies, of course you're not going to trust men, because your choice of men is so terrible. But your choice of men will change when you change your level of self-worth, because the truth is you only date on your own present level of self-worth. So if you don't trust men, it's because your self-worth is low. And the only type of men that you're attracting and entertaining are pookies. So you got to stop being a pookie picker and stop saying you don't trust men and all men are trash. No, you're a pookie picker. So get some therapy and change the way you view the world. Because it's not just viewing men, because a lot of you ladies, you don't even trust women. You don't trust cats. You don't trust dogs. You don't trust anybody because you intrinsically don't trust yourself. And you're literally perpetuating and projecting your level of distrust on your environment. But once you change your, because it's a internal locus of control and an external locus of control. Once you get a better internal locus of control, your external locus of control will literally change. And just like what Jacqueline said, your perception and your reality, it can change. You can literally change your own reality, like Jacqueline said, but you first have to change your inner reality, and your outer reality will change. Because a lot of times, ladies, you see the world by how you see yourself. Jacqueline, tell everybody where they can find you at.
That was powerful, and I think that's another topic for us to talk about, though, the children thing. We gotta talk about that next time. Yeah. But you guys can find me on Instagram, all social media platforms at Jacqueline Plans, JACQUELINEPLANS. Y'all shoot me a message, let me know. I'm glad that you got a new subscriber. I'm glad that, we out here, we're popping, we're doing our thing. Y'all drop some flames in the chat if this was helpful for you. Drop a 1 if you think we should do this again, if we should have another part 2. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. And drop some flames in the chat, like Jacqueline said. And shout out to DC for the $19 super chat. Great show, new subscriber. I appreciate you. Drop some flames in the chat real quick if y'all enjoyed this, because Jacqueline, this was a really dope conversation. We went all over the place. So yeah, and I want to just end this by saying I need everybody, when this is over, go look up Jesse Powell, YOU. We was talking about R&B songs. That song right there, that is, in my opinion, the #1 Baby Baby Please song ever. Well, probably not ever, but so look up Jesse Powell, YOU. That song right there will change your life. And with all that being said, we are out. Y'all have a good rest of y'all day. Hang out for a second, Jacqueline.
Bye, y'all.
All right, y'all.